YouTube and Facebook. Appreciate you joining me. Dan Hurley here. Again, this is Gen X versus AI. My goal in this channel is to learn AI. I am a novice, so I'm not coming off as an expert. So if you're joining me, anything I get wrong, please let me know. I'm just basing on my understanding of AI and what I have learned. I'm being a little selfish by doing this channel because I know if I do the channel and I do these lives, it's going to force me to learn about AI. And it's worked. This is my third live, so I've done Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And it has forced me to learn a ton, which I already have, from to really, what AI is and the LLM, large language models, to some of the tools. And I got to be honest, I'm get pretty excited. Like I want to learn more. I'm trying not to get too overwhelmed. I want to dive right into a million pieces of software, but I'm trying to hold back and kind of learn, AI and ChatGPT, DeepSeek, all the other ones out there first, before, I dive too much into software. If you're like me, you watch YouTube videos, it's a bunch of, 20-some-year-olds, that seem like geniuses that are talking so fast. I know it's YouTube, so you could slow it down or rewind, but it just seems that they skip a lot of things that a lot of us do not understand what they're talking about, and go so quick that it's hard to follow, even if you could stop and rewind. So if you're watching this, this will not be quick. I don't know if that's good or bad, but eventually when I understand this YouTube more, I will break up the videos into sections and classify them by titles so that, you can jump to wherever you may want to. But for now, I have not learned all that. So little by little. So in this channel live, what I want to do is talk a little bit about some news. I don't know. Let's see if this is going to work. So here's an interesting one that came out today. They're talking about an AI horse, I guess I would call it, a hydrogen-powered robo horse. This is just incredible, right? So you certainly had ATVs, and now we're going to have a horse. So I don't know what that's going to look like, from just recreation to some days just replacing horse. Tackled the sound part, so hopefully the sound will play for you. Now, this is not out live yet. This is in the design phases, but I can only imagine how cool something like this could potentially be in the future. Just see, there's other little videos. Yeah, right out of certainly sci-fi movie right here, that's for sure. So again, just crazy stuff happening. So my goal is kind of not to be left behind. I think for anybody, my view of the future is this is certainly going to be fun to learn. Maybe not fun to learn, but certainly lots to learn. But we're going to get into a period extremely quickly, where this is going to start replacing, repetitive type jobs probably first. But this is also going to start replacing white collar jobs. So this might be the first time in history that we have a major flux of loss of blue collar and white collar jobs. And I think it's going to happen pretty quick, right? It's not like when computers came about, and seemed to take 15 years to really catch on, and then the internet took 10 years to catch on, and uh, I think this is going to happen within the next 2 to 5 years extremely quickly, and it's going to replace jobs and people extremely quickly. So I think to begin with, there will be the people that know how to converse with AI and help implement that in business and functionality. And then the ones that ignore it and don't do anything with it, that I think could potentially get left behind. It is amazing how many of these, top tech people, Elon Musk and, the people that started Google and stuff, they're running to AI to develop it, but not because they're not scared of what could potentially happen. It's just more of, it's kind of a race to the top. Who do you want to develop AI first, us or North Korea or China or Russia? And trust me, they all are. So I think it's who's going to get there first to hopefully, uh, instill our beliefs and morals and social code, versus some of the other ones. So that's where it could potentially get scary. And in the medical world, they talk about really whatever you do, make sure you live, the next 5 years. So YouTube that, right? AI. I didn't save it here, but just in the healthcare alone, I think that's one of the areas that people are going to notice it the most first. So again, I think you can see these videos. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm still not sure copyright wise how much I can play or not. I do see that usually says stay under 30 seconds. So again, I think we're going to notice AI in the medical field very quickly. And I've heard enough of them talking that the real goal is stay alive for the next 5 years. If you can make it past 5 years, that some of the medical breakthroughs will absolutely be life changing and should be able to extend life even further. So that certainly will be one of my goals. Okay. The other thing, in the beginning of these, I want to do, certainly news. As we all know, what's been going on with the stock market. It's April 8th. So with the tariffs, the stock market has certainly dropped. So, for certainly 401ks and you name it, it could look scary, but, this looks very scary, but don't forget, look at, you got to look a little further out, right? This is still what the market looked like, going out 5 years. We start getting used to, 10, 20, 30% increases. And we start expecting that. Well, through history, the market, I don't know exactly, but the market maybe averages 6% increases per year. So in the last 5 years overall, it is certainly, is certainly still up. I don't know. I personally am diving into the stock market, especially in AI and robotics. Again, I am not a financial advisor. Do not take this as financial advice. I'm just letting you know my own beliefs on it. And one of those is, they have a lot of these ETFs, or, I don't know how to describe it there, but where you can kind of 3x or 2x a stock. Meaning if you buy Tesla stock, and it goes up $20 or something, that's great. But what if you could 2x that? If you really believed it was going to go up, there are things out there, instruments to be able to do that. So let's see, like Tesla. Again, I'm not recommending this. These are things that I'm certainly looking at. So the nice, if you were interested in something like that, the nice thing is, you don't have to go on margin and things of that nature, right? So again, it's way down, but that should give the chance of it going way up, if it certainly recovers. So might be something you might want to look into. So this one is a 2x, long, means that you're going, assuming it's going to go up. So in this here, I wonder, is there a 3x? Yeah, there is. So, which would make sense that it's down 90%. So, you certainly wouldn't want to do this at the peak, but let's say Tesla, you know, really explodes, then it's a way to take advantage of that. So it looks like there's a lot of those. So again, I think you get the stock symbol for that. I don't know what this one specifically is. And you're trading that stock symbol versus Tesla. Or you could get more like an ETF that has a bunch of them, right? So, something like an AI leveraged ETF, maybe. I don't know. I'm just kind of. All right. So here's a 2X. Okay. So, you'd have to see what, what's in the portfolio, but this would probably have a bunch of, tech stocks. And so anyways, think it's what I'm investing in. The money back in the next year or two, but so I'm going to look at these leverage 2, 3x, just to see what, to really be able to get maybe those gains. I don't think I would ever do such a thing if the market was, kind of going up and at its peak, right? Not that you ever know, but with such a dramatic drop, I really think ultimately this is going to really skyrocket these AI and robotic stocks. And even with Trump, whether you like him or don't like him, he's got a big ego. And I think ultimately for the midterm elections, if the market is down, he knows that's really going to hurt him. So he will probably do things to prop up the market if it's still down 6 months to a year from now. So I take all of that into account. All right. So with that, let's get into some ChatGPT stuff and AI. So one of the titles for today's live is what I have found that you 100% never want to put in ChatGPT and some of these other AI models, the LLMs, meaning the large language models that I don't quite understand it, but my understanding is that it is public domain, meaning even how we use it, that becomes part of the model, and then it can use that to continue to develop itself, right? The model itself. So number one, don't ever put passwords into ChatGPT, right? Now, eventually, you know, what you create is, I guess, AI agents, and some of those might be standalone or private. Again, I don't understand them enough yet, but individual programs, you would want to make sure that they are or not, but there should be some individual programs down the road that, sure, how you might even have an AI that takes care of all your passwords down the road. You just don't want to put it in these open source models where you're putting private information, passwords. So number two, do not ever put your credit card information or banking information into any of these chats. And it's something I didn't really, it just happened to be a YouTube video that popped up as I was researching AI. You never know, because you could have sitting there going, hey, look up this PDF of my checking account and tell me everything that I've spent on groceries, not realizing maybe that PDF, also brought in your checking account numbers. Or, hey, here's my Chase credit card, PDF, go through and, figure out. Now, that might be fine. I don't know. I'm just saying that if that open source is going through that credit card, PDF and grabbing all those numbers, and your credit card number is suddenly showing, that something you may not do. And so again, number one, don't put in passwords for open source AIs. Do not put in, number two, credit cards or banking accounts. And number three, do not research how to do criminal activity. I chuckled at it, but it's open source. So the YouTube video said that, hey, if you're putting in there something of criminal activity, that ChatGPT or this open source may report it to the authorities, or careful with your IRS and things of that nature. So those are the three things you never want to use open source ChatGPT for, and that goes without saying. Okay. So, what I want to cover today, as I'm learning, again, I think the most well-known is ChatGPT, but there's all kinds of them now. So, let's see. Well, I'm just saying the AI large language models. Um, so I just asked it what the top ones are. Okay, so it looks like it's mentioned six of them. Hi, Rebecca. Appreciate you jumping on. Um, so these six, and again, there's more than this, but they also count, ChatGPT 3.5, ChatGPT 4, so there's new models in each one of these two. Okay. So the most well-known is ChatGPT, but the GTP4 is basically the free open source. That's what I'm on right now. I believe there's a 4.5 that's more of the paid for service. Gemini, which I have not used at all, which I'm going to probably do today, is Google's version of this, I guess, right? So each one of these guys are, scrambling to get their AI LLM model, to maybe be the top performer. There's another thing that you got to think about a company like, these search engines, Yahoo and, Internet, Explorer and Google, they make their money from people using them for a search, a directory, and advertising in those paid for click and banner advertisements. That's how those companies make their money for the most part. I'm already doing it. Just in the last 2 weeks, I have found that I'm using Google search less and less, and using, these LLMs to do my searches, which is interesting. And I'm assuming at some point we're going to start seeing some kind of advertising on these pages. If you're on Google search, right, there's ads all over it. So we're using this, and there's no ads sitting here. So it would not surprise me if down the road you start seeing, these free models, at least, with advertisements all over them, which again, I'm fine with. If that makes it free versus paid for, no big deal. So, that's these guys are all racing to the top because this will be the search engine of the future. Okay. Claude 3, I don't know. I'm assuming this is just the name, Anthropic, maybe the name of the company, like ChatGPT is OpenAI is the name of the company. Google, we certainly know that. Mistral, I've never heard of this one, Mistral AI. Actually, I haven't heard a couple of these. So Gronk, I have. That is Elon Musk, X or Twitter. That is the AI model that he owns and is implementing. Let's see. So it looks like each one of these right now have a strength and weakness. Okay, so I think ChatGPT is certainly the most well known. Looks like general purpose, reasoning, creative writing, code, and image input. Notable, let's see, what are you using for now? APIs, turbo variant is cheaper, faster, optimized. So again, I think this is still with a little bit today. Claude 3, I jumped on, for a few minutes. Let's see what other ones, and then the Grok. So I did jump into that one briefly too. So let's test these a little bit. So let me, and again, I don't know if this will work or not work. And again, there's a lot more than this, right? Rebecca's, mentioning that there, a couple that she's already using. Now, again, I'm not sure I understand it a lot, but, I know there's these major models, and then there's agents slash, GTPs or Explore, that are basically, I don't know, honed down versions of these, meaning I want to specialize in medical research. So you might start with ChatGPT 4.0, but then you make an agent or a model, that's really designated just for medical research. So again, the sky's the limit, from making a model that's for construction, making a model that's for cooking, making a model for social media, and advertising, who knows? So that's where I think it gets really confusing. And that's where I was certainly overwhelmed, is when I started looking into this, right? You saw, 100 different icons for different, AI softwares. And I think it was confusing, thinking, how is that possible? But I think a lot of those are runoffs or use the base model to create the others. And I could be wrong. So if I am, in the chat, please let me know. And of course, I got to mention to, subscribe to my channel and hit like if you would, please. Okay. So let's test something. So in these, right, you also have to mark. Okay, so let's see, search. So find through the web. That create is obviously would be imaging. So now I guess if I'm doing search, and let's try something, make a graph for the price of gold in the last 5 years. So I'm in ChatGPT. Let's see what this comes up with that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So now I don't know if it just made those graphs or it went on the internet and found them. So, well, Rebecca, my mother-in-law knows more about AI than I do. She's spitting things out that that I have not necessarily researched or heard about yet. So again, I just made the graph. Now I don't know if it made the graph or it just picked these up. So this is correct. This is a 5-year graph of the price of gold. So again, I don't know if this was just on the internet or if these are graphs that ChatGPT just made. So this says goldprice.org. So maybe it's both. Maybe the first one was a graph it made, and then these other ones are graphs it found. Now this one, it's interesting. It gave me 5 years, but not the current 5 years. And that could be me just not specifying the current 5 years, right? This is in pounds, so that's interesting too. And that certainly is not 5 years, so that kind of did in months. And then again, it gave me the written form. So copy that. And what was one of the other ones? So we're going to go Gemini. So Gemini, and I might have to create an account with all these. So right, Gemini. Oh, there's Gemini.ai. Unless I was on this one. I don't know if I was. Oh, I must have been because it says my name. So this is now Gemini. So this is Google's form of LLM. And let's just paste the same thing and see what this comes up with. And again, this, I don't know if this is just a way for me to learn the differences maybe between these models. Maybe this is not a good way to do it, but I was curious just kind of see what it would do here. So this one's more interesting because this does, I would say, let's see, I found the gold price data, prepare the data for plotting, I'll make a chart. So this is nice. So I do believe that this, just created Gemini on that same text, literally created that graph for me. So that I like that. Now 24, so 25, that's probably, I don't know if that's current or not. I don't think so, actually. That might look like an October. I don't know if Gemini has current data. So again, I was just looking if it's current or if there was a way to turn on a web search. I'm going to guess. Let's see. I can ask it. I keep forgetting. I can ask the AI. So how current date of April 8th. So it is. Okay. So I did really do the plot. I guess that, oh, maybe I didn't see the 2025, but so this looks like it is up to date. Graph the price of eggs over the last 10 years. Let's see if it can do this one. So graph the price of eggs over the last 10 years. So again, a lot of these seem like they have a deep learning price or a deep learning thought, less of a learning. Okay, so That's and so wow, that's good. So it looks like I could even manipulate that. That's kind of neat. So it came up with a price and a graph over the last 10 years for the price of eggs. Now I thought egg prices were coming down, so maybe this graph is just too big to show that. Um, Now I want to also see. I assume it it knows to keep going in the same conversation. So graph the price over the last 8 months. Let's see if I can do something like that. So I didn't even say the word eggs. Okay, so good. So it's really following that thread. It looks like. So let's see if it'll make a graph. Well, cannot create a precise graph with daily or weekly fluctuations 8 months with the current table and describe trend should be good understanding of the price. Okay, so for some reason it is not graphing. Now let's see if I can force it. Graph based on the weekly average price, maybe, and maybe it won't work. I don't know. So it looks like it doesn't have access. Okay, so look at this. So Python, I know, is a type of coding, so code. It's interesting that maybe it's creating a program that I could put in Python to maybe come up with that data sets to create a graph or something. I am not a coder, so um, so that's very interesting. Let's see. So I want to go back and I want to test ChatGPT. So this is a way to see if what these models do for me, right? So graph the price of eggs over the last 10 years. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, again, these are all the free version. Again, I suspect that it's coming up with maybe graphs that it found, right? I don't think I remember. I guess eggs were up in 2002 too. Okay, so this one looks really good because I know it went up, but it has already dropped down. So I like ChatGPT giving me multiple options. There's a really nice graph. So this graph does not go to current date. So that's interesting. So now let me do the same thing. Let's see, can I get the graph over the last 8 months? So let's see what ChatGPT does versus Gemini. Well, that's interesting. So it looks like it's giving me a chart of the United States of where the prices are higher versus lower. Wow, look at that. I would never have guessed that. I really would have thought in the West, I don't know if that's regulation wise or for some reason they don't have chickens as much out there. This kind of surprises me as far as the price and how much they are in different areas. But this also did not give me that graph. So let's go back and what are the other models? So Gemini, so let's try Claude. This is one I don't think I've tried. All right, so there is the AI. I'll create an account. Free plan. All right. right, so no, I'm not looking to do this right now. So I'm going to go back and again, this may not be the best experiment, but I'm just really trying to compare if I ask the same question, right? So let's go back to the gold question. So can this one make a graph of the price of gold in the last 5 years? Now that's interesting. So this one is, I don't know, creating some kind of code to put in something maybe. Or it's going to create maybe this program first and then use the program to create the graph. I don't know. This is interesting. Wow. Okay. So that is pretty impressive. And this looks like a graph that Claude, is it Claudie, created. We kind of watched the process. So that was quite interesting. All right. What was my next question? So that was the price of gold. Let's see the graphic price of eggs. Now again, that one seemed a little slower because it was showing everything. Now, what is the style? That must be which one I'm using. Okay, so what are the graph the price of eggs over 10 years? Let's see what it does for this one. Well, that's quite interesting. So this definitely seems to be going more in depth to show how it's coming up. Now I know if you hit the deep think button, I think at least DeepSeek does the similar thing. It shows you what it's doing. It's actually okay. The price of eggs. Now this again looks like it's ending in. So Claude may not have up-to-date information, right? Because this looks like it's maybe October of 2024. Okay, so that look at that, October of 2024 is what it's graphing the prices based on. Okay, so this one looks like it has, that's the limit of its knowledge, and I don't see where I can turn on, a live search. So that is definitely not there. Now, again, it's funny that maybe is this a jealousy thing? Because I asked for the top LLMs, and this did not list DeepSeek, which is very interesting to me because I certainly would think that DeepSeek would be in the top, but I could be wrong. And I know this is the Chinese version that's listening to us, but let's go through the same practice here, right? Make a graph of gold in the last 10 years. So I have used DeepSeek a lot more. So if I did this, search should, my understanding again is this is what's going to allow it to search the internet for the latest information. And then DeepThink again will show you the process. Pulling the data. So here's the prices.